she'd be a good person to be.
Look at that.
No problem. We can do it. We can be there. We can do that. We're fine. We can. I think people are adoring fans. Pretty much know that we never know what's going on until it happens.
That's true.
That's right.
But
Even
that's
right
right.
now.
But, yeah, and I'm thinking we might possibly be live now. As a matter
Yeah.
of fact,
Hey,
We
if anybody's
are.
out there,
We are,
anybody's
yeah.
out there. Hey guys.
So, yeah, like I said, I think they even
Yeah.
heard all that stuff there as I was talking about our
Oh, we
growing
were praising all of our billions of fans.
fans. That's right.
Yay.
See,
And
Absolutely.
if you're joining us now, you'll notice that there's only three of us here because the Oklahoma girlie is doing still work related stuff. She's I guess she changed jobs and she's in training, and they use the training time in the evening. So there she is training, and it's just us. And you see that we don't have a guest with us tonight because something fell through at the last minute, and so it's just us. So you're gonna have to deal with us. Actually, we're all gonna just focus on Pam, and she's gonna talk for an hour straight.
Oh,
yeah, and we're
lovely.
gonna sit here and stare at her through the
It's your
screen.
turn.
Well, gee, I was
Pam, you're up.
born. Let's see. No.
No, so
Hi, my
we're
name
pretty,
is Ken. I am.
yeah, we can pretty much roll with just about anything. We've all been doing this for a while, and we've got quite a bit of stories that are going on, and we're gonna try to keep it within the A.M.O.K region. But if we go venturing out to like the borderlands, we could possibly do that. But I think we've all experienced enough in this area. But we're gonna start off with Consol, and that's your
Consol.
area, Consol.
Mhm.
The only thing I've investigated mostly in Arkansas and Oklahoma, and
Mhm.
I've investigated just once in Kansas
Uh-huh.
up there in Wichita. We did the Cowtown Museum,
Oh, yeah, in Wichita.
and that's a really cool place. And I've only done one investigation in Missouri, so
Really?
well, yeah,
No,
because
two.
what I
Two.
do.
Oh,
You did
Raytown.
Ray
You did
County
Raytown.
and
Oh, Ray
Ray-
County, yeah,
I said Raytown. Ray
and
County.
Pythian and the
So-
Pythian
That's
Castle.
right.
And also that I've done three because I've done that. So I
Ooh.
mean,
Oh,
wow,
what's the other one?
Missouri's just smacking up all over Kansas. No, I forget it. Yeah, it's not that I forget that I did that. I forget where
Okay,
they're
what
at.
was the third one?
I did it. We actually we did a townhouse in Branson.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a nightmare investigation because we always do houses. We never did apartments because all the bleed over.
Mhm.
And we figured, okay, well, we'll do a townhouse. Maybe that's going to be better. And it was a really cool place. I mean, it was a condo, full on condo, but with all the sound turned off, air turned off, everything turned off. We heard everything that was going on around us. And it's like, okay, well, there's no audio for this. So are we going to experience it? You talk about absolutely nothing happened during that whole investigation. So if it wasn't for the trip to Silver Dollar City the next day, it would have been a total. But
That's worth it right there.
Well, should have brought your stuff there because there's spirits down there too.
Well, of course there is, but
There's
I'm
everywhere,
sure,
but
well, Branson's got a weird energy to it, so I'm
Mhm.
sure
Yeah,
there's
that
all
does.
kinds of stuff. But no, the only thing I did in Kansas though is Cowtown, which is a neat place. So if anybody's around Wichita, go check it out. Have you been there, Pam?
I have not. That's what I was going to say. That's one place I have not been is Cowtown.
Where they do, I know a lot of teams will host events there,
Mhm.
and it's okay as long as they don't have like a gazillion people there. But
Yeah.
for those of you who don't know about it, you can look it up online. But it's basically like an old west town, and they have a whole bunch of. It's a museum slash place that you can walk through, and a couple of the houses have lots of stories about them. And although we didn't experience anything that Mr. Skeptic couldn't just that couldn't have been that. It was just a neat place to hang out, and I definitely would go back just because of how interesting of a place it was. But
Mhm.
that's all I've ever done in Kansas.
Wow.
I went to a casino there, not to gamble. Went there for the tat reunion one year, and
Oh, okay,
so we
cool.
just hung out, but had fun like we do.
I'm trying to think
Have
of
you ever investigated in Kansas, Pam?
have I?
Yeah.
A couple
I
of
don't,
times.
I don't think so. Never
Mostly
heard of it
in
though.
private residences,
Yeah.
but I think there's a great place in Garnett, Kansas called the Garnett Hotel. Um,
Heard of it.
and it is a lot of fun. It's very old. It's got a lot of history, and it's got some great stories. And they used to pretty much have cameras up all the time, and I'm not sure they do so much anymore. I know I can't think. I think is it Rob Garcia? Is that his
Rob
name?
Garcia. Mhm.
Yeah, and Justin Spurrier
Okay.
own it, and we need to touch base with him again. Mike Coy, that's on Border Town with me. He has been up there quite a few times. I've only been there once, but they're always getting good stuff when they're up there. And he was up there one time, and there's video of them walking into a room to pick up this doll that had fallen on the floor, and they put it back. It's like set up on top of like a chifforobe thing. And so they put it back up there, and it's set back so it shouldn't fall over, and it falls over. It doesn't like tilt off. It like falls off out into the middle
Wow.
of the floor. It's
Jumped
pretty
off.
cool.
But it's just a hotel.
It used to be a hotel. It's not been one. It was a hotel in the late 1800s.
Okay.
And then for a long time after that, it was a doctor's office.
Okay. Now, because I always wonder because this hotel is haunted, or that hotel is
Yeah.
haunted. I'm like, why a hotel?
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
I, it doesn't make any sense to me, but because I get the esprit de corps for the World War II vessels. I get the hospitals because you died there,
Yeah. Yeah.
or
Yeah. Yeah.
even by nurses because they're proud of what they did, their career, things like that. I get that, but like a hotel.
Well, one of the female spirits that is there at least part of the time, and she did show up the night that we were there. I can't recall her name off the top of my head, but she had killed someone, and they held her there as a prisoner, basically. And I mean, there really wasn't anybody policing her. And at one point, she got sick of it and jumped on a stagecoach and just skipped town, but
Yeah.
then turns around and comes back 5 years later. So they rearrest her at that point. So it's a really strange story, but she did show up. So that was kind of interesting. So there is some really freaky history associated with it that would, I mean, I could see play into it for sure. But yeah, it was a pretty cool place. That was
But the
probably one of my favorite ones.
Any of the like Jesse James and Frank James and Bill Anderson and all that, were they in that area? Any skirmishes?
I'm not in the Garnett area. There was a lot of
Okay.
Civil War action.
they may have checked in as like Stan Winslow.
Yeah, if they did, they were under their own names. But yeah, it's a pretty cool place.
Well, I think that hotel we stayed in when we went to the Ray County Museum, that place probably was deserving of a investigation.
I would
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, especially that bar area that was closed off. That looked pretty
Oh my
sketch, didn't
gosh.
it?
Yeah,
I pulled
pretty
up, I'm
wild.
I
like,
think there were bodies in that pool before they poured in
well, I
the
was gonna
rock.
say that when they put the
Yeah.
filled it with concrete, yeah.
You know, I was
Yeah.
thinking about that place today because I was doing some research for an upcoming Border Town Strange podcast, and it's on cemetery lore and different things. And I was thinking about the bear that's buried in the yard there from the circus
Oh,
at
yeah.
Raytown. I keep saying Raytown, Ray County. Yeah.
Raymore. Was it Raymore?
What?
Yeah,
Ray
name of
County.
Ray County. I think the town
Ray.
is that.
It's Ray something. Well,
No,
is
no,
it
no,
Ray?
no,
No.
Richmond.
Oh yeah, I think that's
Richmond.
it. I
Yeah.
think you're right.
I don't know. I just go with the lady in my phone told me to go.
That's right. Adrian,
She's bossy too,
go.
Yeah, pretty much, right. I like her. She tells me where
Turn
to go.
here.
One of the few women I don't mind telling me where to go. She's always telling me where to go, and she usually gets me there.
I get mine
Alexa or Siri.
irked at me all the time. Turn around, you're going the wrong way. It's like it's more like a naginator.
Reroute.
Oh yeah. I got
There is a
story
place
about
in
that.
Coffeyville that's really close to me. It's called the Condon Bank. And when you talked about the Daltons, that is the bank that they robbed and were subsequently killed outside of by a bunch of citizens.
Oh, really? I didn't know
Oh,
that.
Yeah.
Isn't that where you showed me that? Did you show me
I
that?
can't.
Is that
We
kinda
showed
like
you Brown Mansion. Did we show?
well,
Oh, I
you
think
should,
we did.
no, it was
Maybe
like
we
a
did go by
triangular
Condon. Yes.
building.
Yep.
Yeah, and you said, yeah, right there. And there's a sign there too. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
that was pretty awesome looking building.
Yep. Just to the west of it's Death Alley is where they actually killed him.
Okay.
So, yeah. Yep. And there was a
Friendly
few,
town.
huh?
Friendly town.
Friendly town. Well, don't rob their banks and they're great. You rob their banks, they have issues with you.
Well, I mean,
I think
come
you're a little
on.
upset.
It's a free,
Just a wee bit.
it's a free country. But you say you mainly did houses. Is that what you said? You like, I mean, tell me the most without giving any real stuff away. Like the most haunted house you did around where you live.
Oh my gosh, the most haunted house.
Yeah.
It's a good question. We ran into a few. Um, there was there was one that was actually being fueled by some bleeding EMF a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, once we helped them get that under control, that helped. Okay, I know one. It used to be, well, it's in downtown Caney, and it's a private residence now. When it first was built, Caney is if you're not familiar with Caney, we are like right smack dab on the Oklahoma border. And before it was Oklahoma, it was Indian Territory. And when they first built something in the area, they called this town Innisfil, and it was south, just a few miles into Indian Territory. And when they actually surveyed everything, they realized it was too far south, so they made them move it. And so rather than just abandon their buildings, a lot of them moved their houses up to Caney and then reestablished here. And that's when Caney came to be. And this particular house, the original part of it was moved from Innisfil up here. And my friend, a very good friend of mine, had owned it for quite a while. And when she first bought it, she got it really cheap and it needed a lot of work. And she lived in there. She loved it. And she absolutely adored this house. And she was like, I don't ever want to leave here, basically. And she's the person that would be like, she actually went on my first ghost hunt with me. So, she was very big into this stuff too. And after she had passed, her daughter allowed us to go in and investigate. And this would have been like 2013-ish, somewhere around there. So our team had just started, maybe within the year. And so Jess and I were in the kitchen and we're sitting at the table and we have audio of this. And you hear me say, can you finish what I'm doing? And I just knocked out shaving a haircut. I did that. Yeah. And we were waiting on a knock knock or something. And we very plainly out loud heard a woman's voice say, yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, did you hear that? And Jess is like, yeah, did you hear it? Yeah. And so we started talking.
Audible. Yeah, heard it.
It was audible. It was,
wow. Yeah.
We heard it out loud. So we're like talking back and forth. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we just heard this. Well, when we listened to the audio back, you could hear it on the recorder too.
Oh, that's cool.
But the voice also said something else and we talked right through it because we were like, oh my God, did you hear that? So, we were so excited. And then to continue on that night, it wasn't very much longer after that, Mark's in the kitchen with us, and you hear a big click sound, and you hear me say, "It's right behind me. Did you hear it?" And we did not hear this out loud at the time, but on recorder, it very clearly says, "It's just me."
It's just
And
me.
it's just me.
Ah,
And so when we played it back, it was really cool. But Mark, at the time, I was very close to where the stove was. And so he's using his EMF detector, and he's like, "Oh, wow, this thing's knocking it off the charts." It had one of those little analog clocks built into it.
uh-huh.
So he's like, "Let me mess with this." So he unhooked the clock, and everything in the house completely stopped. It's like it was fueling, giving
Yeah, no,
energy
I
to
get that.
whatever was there. Yeah,
Wow.
everything stopped at that point. But the really cool part of all that, when we heard it say, "It's just me," um, my friend, her name was Janie. That was something she always said. She would call you, "Hey, Pammy, it's just me."
Oh, yeah,
And that was even her password on everything, was "It's just me."
that's
And
wild.
yes. And so when she passed, I had written a poem for her. And in the front of her funeral booklet, it was in there. And I had titled it, "It's Just Me."
Huh.
So for her to
Oh,
say that was
nice.
just really, really cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
That-
It's an
Well,
awesome
dude,
place.
but okay, here comes the the me who doesn't trust anything. Do you think that
Right.
was her trying to communicate, or something trying to use what she does to communicate to get you?
I, uh, I honestly, I think it probably was her trying to
Yeah,
communicate. Yeah. Because she was very attached to that property.
yeah,
And it would not surprise me for her to have stayed there at least for a while.
for a little while.
I don't
Yeah,
know if she's still there, and there were other spirits there for sure.
that's pretty wild.
That's also the house. I think you guys have heard me tell the story about. There was, I was helping her hang wallpaper in the tea room, and everything was paneled in that, just the cheap wood paneling, and it was dark paneling too. So whoever had lived there before had hung a million pictures everywhere, and you couldn't see the nails until you're right up on top of them. So I had taken some wallpaper and went to the top of the ladder and went to hang it. Well, I had a hammer hanging on the ladder, to pull nails with. And I got it up there, and I ran into another nail. So I stopped and went to grab the hammer, and it wasn't hanging on the what is it? The oh
Brace.
yes, thank
Yeah,
you.
the brace. Mhm.
Yeah, on the ladder.
Little
It wasn't
folding
hanging
brace.
there. Yes. And so I was like, "Crud, where, I just used it. Where did it go?" And I couldn't find it anywhere. So I was like, "Hey, Janie," she was in the other room. I was like, "Hey, did you come in and get the hammer?" And she's like, "No." So she came in and helped me look, and neither one of us could find it. So we went out to her garage, got another hammer, and came back in. And I went up the ladder, pulled the nail, hung it on the ladder, came down, got the wallpaper and everything, and went back up and was, running it down and smoothing it down, and got towards the bottom of the ladder and went to step off of it and put my foot down on the original hammer.
uh,
The newer one was still hanging on the
uh,
brace. Scared the crap out of me, because I was like, immediately, if it can move stuff like this, what else can it do? But yeah, it was pretty wild. There's a lot of things that happened in that house.
that's wild. No,
Very cool place.
I have a special. Uh, I enjoy doing homes more than I enjoy the big places,
Yeah,
because we always do it to actually help a client out. When you do the big places, it's more just to go have fun, and but it's also a lot of work.
it
So
is. Yeah.
when you guys do, when you let's say your team would do that house, how many people would go into the house?
When we went, there was four of us.
Four,
Oh, I take that back. There was five of us.
five.
At the time, there was five of us. Yeah.
That's
And it was a
probably
2-story, pretty big house.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we've done so many homes that were like 800 square feet.
Oh, yeah. You can't get hardly
You
anyone
get
in
four
there.
of us in there. It's like, okay.
It,
It
it
does.
was, it was at one time, the original portion of it had been moved up from Enosville, and it was just a residence, but then it was added on to quite a bit. And Capstone was the original owner of it. And then after he had it, it was big enough that they turned it into a hotel. And in fact, when Janie purchased the house, it still had the room numbers above the doors.
Ah,
And it was also turned into, at one time, it was a boarding house. And and it was a hospital. They used it as a hospital at one time. And there was a story that it was a cat house. We don't know if that was true or not, but there was some sus wallpaper in there for sure when we were taking wallpaper down.
Well, if there's room numbers, it's got to be a true story.
Right? Exactly. That's what we thought.
Mhm.
But yeah, there was some really crazy things that happened there. We got some of our very best evidence there, which was really exciting because when you're a new team, and just getting started, to find someone or somewhere that is so active is just really cool.
Yeah, you were talking about cat house. I know Steve and I, my buddy, we were looking at all sorts of old houses and mansions and stuff in St. Louis area, and we came upon this one. Realtor got us in. We were kind of just wandering around looking at it, and we had, for a while, we were looking at maybe investing in one of the old Victorians or whatever.
Mhm.
So we get into this one, and we're looking around. We go upstairs, and Steve calls me and goes, "Hey, you need to come up and check this out." So I go up the stairwell to the second floor, and several of the doors up there actually had hasps on the outside of the door
Ooh.
with padlocks on them. They weren't locked, but they were on them, and we're like, oh my goodness, this is totally weird. What was this prior owner into?
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
not
it's
good.
like, oh yeah, pretty great. We got to see some really interesting old homes, and I know we looked at another one somewhere down the city area, and the house had part of it was a two-story. I'll call them like I forget what you call those things. Not a townhouse, but the old.
Like a duplex or something.
Duplex?
Well, no, two inner city type thing.
Mm.
Two-story home anyway. But
Mhm.
half of the house they took out they took out the floor, so it was just one giant room going up about 40
Oh,
40
wow.
feet or so from
That's weird.
and it
That
was
is
really
weird.
weird. They had trapeze stuff in there.
Oh,
Gosh.
well, I guess
And
if you're like a trapeze,
well,
then
that's what
Could
we
have
were
been flying
wondering.
through the air with the greatest of ease, Ken.
That's
yes.
what we were thinking too, but there was only one bar, and it's like, okay.
Oh
We're like,
no.
what were they doing in this one? And the colors, oh my God, the
Oh.
colors were so ugly and gaudy. Yeah, it was we're like, oh, I bet these people had some fun in this house. So
Oh yeah,
it's
probably.
like,
Yeah,
oh my gosh. So yeah, it was pretty crazy. So
that's a whole new. Never mind. I was going to make a swinger
don't even
joke.
go there. This is a G. G rating tonight. Don't even go PG on that one. Okay.
Swinging.
But anyway, yeah. So yeah, we've seen some pretty crazy things.
That's funny.
We got an old oh my gosh, what was the place called? I can't think of what it's called now. Anyway, there's a place down in the city, um, east side of the city, right along Highway 70.
Mhm.
I'll think of the name here in a little bit, but Bissell, the Bissell Mansion,
Mhm.
and it had been vacant. It used to be basically like a dinner theater place.
Okay.
I had been in there a few times, but they would never let anybody go upstairs to the second floor or do any investigations there. So it became vacant. And it had been vacant for I don't know how many years, 4, 5, 6 years. So it was pretty much beat to heck. All the copper, the kitchen area, the center area. You walk in, wide open hallway, or just a big room when you come in the front door. Then the stairwell went up, and upstairs. So that whole center section was in really, really good shape. But if you go into just off of any of those the main corridor and the rooms next to it, like the kitchen, it was just destroyed because vandals came in, stole all the copper, stole the air conditioning, stole the wire, just really demolished the outside edges of it. But I'm on the outside. He goes in with the realtor, and I'm outside monkeying around with my spirit box. So I got my backpack and I just put the spirit box on, turned it on, and this guy starts talking to me. I mean, conversation. Says, "Hi." And I'm like, "Hi, how are you?" "Great." And then this woman pops in and says, "Hi."
Oh my
So
gosh.
so I'm like, this is awesome. I haven't even walked in the door yet, and I've got activity on the outside on the porch. I think they were just extremely happy that somebody came in to look at it, because again, we were looking at it and potentially, maybe gonna thinking about buying it or whatever. Maybe not seriously, but uh, so we go in the house, and I've still got the backpack on. I got the spirit box going. The guy, the realtor didn't care, so he's like, "Oh, this is really fascinating." So he's telling us stuff, and over the radio, these two voices keep popping in and either correcting him or telling us the real story about what was going on in different areas. It
Wow.
was it was really, really amazing, and I can't find that tape or
Oh
that recording. I'm
no.
like, oh my gosh, it was so cool. But we were there for like an hour and a half, and these two spirits, they just kept chatting with us the whole time, and it was an amazing experience, and we had a blast on that. So I've had some really weird and interesting things, um,
That's so cool.
all over the place.
Wild.
Yeah,
What
just
about you, Adrian? Do you have any cool stories?
Do I have a what?
Do you have any cool stories of like
pool stories.
No, I've got all kinds of cool stories, but
well of residents that you could talk about?
but see, I talk about the one that I mean, you'll be driving past it when you go out towards Talahina. That really what I consider a demonic haunt when I do my presentation on. But we've done several of them out Oklahoma direction. Like I said, never up there in Kansas, and a lot all over here in Arkansas. But I think some of the I had several people who had uh, said they were dragged. It said that one person was grabbed by the hair and dragged, and,
Oh
and
my
stuff like
gosh.
that. And we investigated that, and there was nothing.
Oh
But
yeah.
but we did like I said, most of our home stuff has been uh, like, oh man, I don't really know how to put it. We got a lot of stuff on there, but there's nothing that would really stick out outside of that the one home in Summerfield.
Yeah.
Uh, I think we did a museum down in south of Oklahoma City, and that was a cool place because we had actually I'm gonna have to we'll have to talk about this some other time. I'll talk about it now, but we had this one that had an EMF detector that I forget the name of it. It's a popular one, but it made a clicking sound,
Mhm.
kind of like a Geiger counter. And
Oh, okay.
as the as you got close to whatever thing that was causing it to go off, the clicking started getting faster, kind of like a Geiger counter would, right? But as we're sitting there steady, and the audio, you hear us talking, and we're witnessing a shadow. It didn't look like a shadow person. We just seen a shadow moving, and then you hear us talking, and the shadow starts moving closer towards us. We don't have any video going on because nobody had a video camera at the time, just everybody in audio. As it was coming closer, 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 the ticking kept getting louder and louder. And it kind of reminds me of Alien when they, when
Oh
they,
yeah.
when they had
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
pulse thing going on. And
I know.
but no, like I said, most of our stuff is homes. Uh, and I talked about many of the most interesting ones already on the show, like the house down southwest in Hartford, who was they said that things were flying off the shelf in their house, and they knew it was haunted, but all of a sudden it just escalated, and now things are flying off the off their curio cabinet. And so we went down there to talk to them about it, and they're talking about they had always seen this lady who looked like she was Victorian style. Wasn't Victorian style, but she basically looked like a librarian though, because she had the high neck collar and hair in the bun,
It
and
makes me
one
think
of
of the
the
librarian on
yeah, that's
Ghostbusters.
what the librarian style, right? That's their words. And I said, could have been a church lady, whatever. That's what she was dressed, the way she was dressed. That's how you do. You wear the high neck collar and the hair in the
Oh,
bun, too, right? When
sure.
you're
Yeah.
only when you're at
When I'm at
work.
work. Only
But
when I'm at work.
mhm. But they said that when we went there and talked to them, they had well, actually before we went down there, they said what they did is they stuck a cross up there by the knickknack that kept getting thrown across the room, and it stopped. So they automatically, it's demonic.
Yeah.
So we go down there and try to talk to them. And as soon as I walk in the room, and I said, show me this curio cabinet, and I see what's been thrown. And what it is a little gnome. And when they put the cross on there, that they thought, well, that must stop the demon from throwing things, because now there's a cross. I said, no. I said, what you don't understand is you look at that lady and look at the time frame that lady would have existed. Should be probably very religious, and a gnome would be a demonic, like fairy type creature.
Yep.
So if this is a church lady, she's gonna like get the thing out of my house and
It's
do
great
that. And
deduction.
when you
Yeah.
threw that, when you put the cross on there, it just probably just confused the heck out of her. But we never investigated that house because they did that and it just stopped. They got rid of all the gnome stuff, and they didn't move, because our goal as a team was to get people to not move. We had one family who lived just down the street from us, a couple miles actually. But they had little kids in there, and they had a bunch of electronic equipment because he had a DJ, and they'd be in there, and all of a sudden the lights would start going off, and he's like, "I didn't do this." I'm thinking, okay, well, it's electronic issues. When we went and we actually did an investigation of this home, and when we were there, we did an investigation, and all the voices that we got, which sounded like a little girl.
Oh,
And so she liked the laser light show, and we have an EVP where she says laser light show.
oh
And
That's
wow.
cool.
That's
so
cool.
that's why she kept turning those things. I said, I guess, I mean, what you got here is you got a little kid ghost. She's very much attached to their little kids, but I could never get him to reconcile the fact that there's a haunting in his home. Ghosts are scary. He did the Casper thing, and he up and moved. I consider that our biggest failure as a team, because I always want people to be okay. Well, ghosts exist.
Right.
Be comfortable with it. No, we've had all kinds of investigations. Like I say, mostly homes, and we had one not far from that one actually, where a kid in the house was talking about, and they thought it was an imaginary friend, and had uh, was continually talking to this thing, and he kept looking up, kept looking up, kept looking up, and one time he's looking up and looked down, and he got distraught. Apparently, there was a suicide at this home.
Oh
Oh, wow.
no. She's
Yeah.
seen it
So
replay.
so this yeah.
Mm.
So we got some EVPs from that place, but nothing to really just like overly
That's
dramatic.
I kind of what you're saying. I mean, that's what we try to do too as a team. We try to help people help themselves.
Mhm.
We try to help them learn how to take their power back, because the fear that they're projecting is just feeding, whatever may be making it bad for them to begin with. Um, and I That's what's really cool about this, especially when we walk in and do baselines. And that's where we use the majority of our equipment, is when we first walk in and say, okay, let's, do the baseline EMFs. Let's baseline on everything, see what we've got going on. And usually about, I would say probably 85 to 90% of the time, we already know what it is at that point, and
Yeah.
it's usually something non-paranormal. And we've helped people realize that, and that feels really good when they can get their power back and realize it's not something to be scared of. It's not paranormal. It's actually normal. It's just something that needs an easy fix. And then we've had others that we've had to give a little bit more help to, and help teach them how to take their power back from whatever it is that is there and get away. But yeah, this has been, out of everything that I've done in my life, this has been my favorite thing to do.
Really? Yeah. Oh, we started the team back in 2006
Mhm.
and had some awesome moments, had some scary moments, but most of it's been good times and fun. It made some lifelong friends, which is the coolest part of it. And we've had uh client turning into investigators because we had Robin and Nancy on the show once, and
Yeah.
and their house was haunted, and it was great because they had the opportunity to hear the EVPs, and instead of getting scared, got even more excited about it and wanted to do what we did and help people out. And they still help people out, which is pretty awesome. I
That's
love
really
what we
cool.
do.
Yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
with the uh, Have you ever done a home and you realize that it was all not haunted? and then
Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah.
and the client not agree with you?
Absolutely. We had,
Absolutely.
it wasn't in Caney. It was a town outside of Caney. And it was a bed and breakfast. They asked us to come in, and basically to prove their haunting for them. And we went in, beautiful place, and this was really kind of in the height of paranormal shows.
Hmm.
And there was a lot of, these investigators have been here, and now, I have people staying here every weekend and we're booked for 3 years out, kind of thing. And I think that was kind of the appeal in this particular case for them.
Yeah.
And so when we went in, there was a couple of things right off the bat. They had a gas leak that they didn't know about, that I think it was Mark that caught it almost immediately. Um, so we were like, you've got to get this fixed for sure. But there was also a door, that was swinging. And that was another. Mark was like, oh, well, we can, they'll just take me a second. I can fix that right up. And it quit swinging. And by the time we left, they were not very happy with us because it wasn't haunted. If it was, we weren't
They
catching anything.
and they couldn't make any money.
They couldn't make any money. They
I've
Yeah.
wanted,
run I've run into 3 or 4 of those. Yeah.
yeah, they wanted the ability to say, yeah, it's been proven. We've had people come in and investigate. Investigators have proven it to be haunted. And they wanted the evidence. And
And
it's
that's
not.
the
It's
thing.
not.
And that's the thing. We've gone to several, which is why I have a hard time paying for investigations, because I've
Yeah.
I've gone to several places that people, really hype it up, really hype it up, really hype it up. And I've gone there and it has nothing happen. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, so I don't want to put it out there in these places because several of them are known, and some places are trying to get known. And I'm not one of those people who like to dog on places. But I work hard for my money and I hate to throw it away.
Yes. And I'm looking in our chat. Creeps is in there saying, great points. Private residences are so challenging. Do you have any tips on how to keep yourself safe from both the paranormal and non-paranormal risks, like finding dangerous situations in the house?
Yeah. I see, some people, you talk about staying safe. Uh, there's no safe place. And what I like to remind people is, you uh, take a soldier, and they've got the helmet on, they've got the bulletproof vest on, they're taking every precaution they can to get shot. You can take anything and use it as protection. And I thought for the longest time that I'm good and safe. I got Jesus in my heart, and I pray before investigation. But yet, I was hit. I was hit hard. So the best thing that you can do, the only thing that you can really do, is know yourself and be with people you trust, and listen to those people around you. If you can't do that, if you don't have that ability, then don't do this hobby. Don't do homes. Go out and do the fun places that's really cool to go do. They're safe places to be. Leave homes to experience people. Like that, I mentioned it earlier, Summerfield. We went into that house as a young team. I got excited. I put myself, my entire my family, and all my investigators in danger just because I was excited, because I thought, hey, this is cool. I can handle this. I could
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
So so yeah, it's just one of those things. But yeah, homes are a different thing altogether, and definitely need
And
experience and know what you're doing before you don't go in there to
Yes.
learn how to house.
and inexperienced investigators, they think, oh, I can do it. They can do it. They
Mhm.
go in, they create additional danger
Oh yeah,
for the families because
yeah,
they don't know
Yeah.
what they're doing.
Right.
You know,
That does happen. I know there has been at least two cases in which we have, just upon interviewing the clients, we have sourced out and brought in uh, priest, basically. And it was someone, I mean, someone that is experienced with exorcisms and things like that. Did we know 100% that it was demonic? No, we didn't know. But when we ran it by the father, he was like, yeah, you guys really probably should, we would advise you not to put yourself at risk on this
yeah,
particular case. And so we would forward all the information to them. um and so a lot of it is kind of following your gut feeling when you hear certain keywords pop up to say, okay, maybe I need to have those resources in place, and that's what's great about networking and getting all of our teams together and building
exactly
such a
right,
big community. Then we
exactly
have
right.
those resources.
And even in the medical field, I'm a medic. There are people that you can do things like a general practitioner knows a lot about everything, but a good general practitioner knows, okay, this is beyond me. I need to send you to a
Yep.
specialist. And the paranormal is the same way. We have people who don't come to me for Bigfoot. I mean, I make a lot of jokes about Bigfoot, but don't come to me for Bigfoot. Why? Because I'm not an outdoorsy guy. I know nothing about it. If I come face to face with Bigfoot, I'm not going to do anything but crap myself. And same with UFOs. I don't know what to look for. I don't have the thing. I specialize in ghosts. I specialize in spiritual warfare. That's my specialty. So that's why I started to get into this. And even though I considered myself a specialist in that area, I still got smacked around. And so when you network with people, you get to learn who they are more so than what they try to project. It's not always, uh,
Correct. Yeah.
yeah. Without, I don't want to step on any toes. Uh, but there are a lot of people who speak a game that they can't play,
Right.
and find within the larger network of all the teams, find a tighter, more personal network
Mhm.
that you can go to, and that's me. I have a few people that I will actually bounce things off of if I'm really struggling through things. And even though I think I'm typical paranormal investigator, I know everything. No,
I
I
know
don't.
nothing.
I know nothing.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't know what I don't know.
I've been doing this for
yeah.
18 years. I've done a lot of investigations. I've seen some crazy stuff. And what do I have now? More questions than I had when I first started.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Ken doesn't.
Oh, I agree. No, I was shaking my head. I was reading some notes here. No,
No,
I fully agree. I if I can't learn anything new, it's like I don't even want to be in the field anymore.
Right.
yeah,
It's because it's just not worth it. But every time I go someplace, I learn something new.
Mhm.
I either learn something new to use or learn something to don't ever do that because that was the stupidest thing that the other person just did. And no, that's wrong. So push that aside. But that's my learning experiences there. So, and
Uh,
What
I
I
is there,
really
I
liked,
agree with you guys.
what I
is
really
there,
like since we've all started doing this together is when we go places together
yeah.
and seeing how each different team does their investigation differently. And
You'll notice that the few times that we've been together, I generally stand back and I watch other people, and
yeah.
Oh, I know he's got those
I do that.
binoculars and
Yeah, I do that a lot.
where's
But
Ken? What the heck is Ken doing now? Oh my God.
oh my God, no. I will say that from when we
No.
started investigating to today, although I've learned a couple of things, my general original thought on the paranormal hasn't changed at all. And so uh, I think I came in with good solid theories. I
Mhm.
backed them up more than I've done anything else. Have you changed over the years? Either one of you?
I think when I first got started, of course, started off of experiences when I was young. And then in the early 90s, my very first ghost hunt was in a cemetery and we had, compasses and things like that. And so we started a lot more on intuition
Hmm.
and gut feelings and things like that. And then when we became a team as Border Town in 2012, we got really into the equipment, because that's when it was big to get into all the equipment. So we got scads of equipment. And the longer we have done this, there's just a very few times. I mean, I use equipment, but usually it's for baseline readings.
Yes.
We get an audio recorder running, we've got cameras and stuff. But do we do
Camera
that?
and a recorder is all I got.
Really? That's really all you need, honestly. And just to be aware of your surroundings. If you can do those three things, yeah, you're going to catch more information than any other way, really.
Good point. I guess in my realm, I have evolved over the years. I mean, I was always interested in it. I really, as I, how do I say this? As I think back and, meditate a little bit on, when I was younger, it's like, oh my God, I did experience that, but I didn't know what it was.
Yes, we
And
run into
I've
that too.
now, over the past 15 plus years, I have learned a lot. Like I said, I keep the good stuff and throw away the bad. The stuff that just doesn't make any sense.
Mhm.
So, but no, I think I have a couple of times actually changed my thinking based on an experience that I would have.
Mhm.
I was trying to think back for an example of that. And I remember we were about three or four or five of us, whatever. We were at this, we were up in Illinois and we were at Pure Marquette Lodge. We're doing an investigation in the winery that was there. And we tapped into through the spirit box, we tapped into a party that was going on the other side.
Mhm.
And they were just giving us all sorts of information, and you could hear them laughing and talking to each other, and they're telling us about what they're eating and what they're drinking, and three, four, five different voices. That's the second time I've actually had that happen. It was totally amazing. And then all of a sudden, some of our it got kind of quiet. They stopped talking to us, and then another voice, and then over our ovulus, a couple of words popped up. All the cliche negative ones, demon, Beelzebub popped up, and and this and that, and death, and just all these negative words. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And then I realized it was just like divine intervention or whatever. Thought occurred that I realized that no, we were we were asking who they were, and they came up with all these words. So a couple of people are like, oh my God, we're talking to demons. I'm like, no, we're not talking to demons. That's when it hit me that
A demon
they
won't tell you their name.
they thought that
Right.
we were demons because we were able to communicate with them.
Yeah.
Apparently it was taboo, and it got me to start thinking a little differently about and really
You're their ghosts.
that's exactly what was going on. We were their ghost, and they were like, oh my God, we're talking to the devil. And it's like, no guys. So that's when I started changing and I started introducing myself, what year I live in, tell them a little bit about me before we even start asking any questions.
Yeah, I always
So,
start with the introductions. I always
well,
start,
yeah.
yeah. I was hi, I'm Adrian. I'm from Fort Smith, Arkansas. This is my wife, Tino. And
but
I always,
it
yeah.
took me a while to get to that point, and that was probably about 8-10 years ago,
You're
whatever.
like, here's my K2 meter. Can you make it go off? And they're like, K2.
Yes.
Exactly,
what?
exactly. Make these
Explain the
lights
equipment.
flash, So
Yeah.
now,
Speak
and
into
now,
my digital audio device. It goes from 1802, like going, what?
yeah,
So I have a question for both of you guys then.
Uh-oh.
So kind of on Ken's coattails right there. So have you ever been in a situation, or have you thought about the fact that maybe we are, and Adrian, you brought this up too, we're their ghosts,
Yeah.
Oh, we are.
Oh, yeah.
because
It depends. Go ahead.
so how do you think that works? Are we just, is time all
No,
happening at the same time?
when that event happened for me, like I said, about 8-10 years ago, whatever it was,
Mhm.
I realized that I have to be conscious and figure out what era are we talking to?
Mhm.
Because, if you go back to, the prior days, some of it was taboo, some of it wasn't, some of it, that's what they experienced all the time. And even in the United States, spiritualism was accepted until what? The maybe mid late 50s through the
Yeah, and then it got shut
because
down again.
well, I think even actually up until the 80s when with the
Yeah.
spirit boards and the Ouija boards, that was a game. And
Yeah.
Then all the devil worshiping
especially
scare.
during World War II and World War I, there wasn't communication enough, so they couldn't talk to their loved ones. So a lot of people would use divining boards or divining rods or any way to try to communicate with the people with their family members.
The crystals,
Mhm.
right? The pendant. Yeah.
Exactly.
Pendulums,
Pendulums and anything just to try to communicate, through their ancestors to their loved ones who are over fighting in, wherever in Europe, or
Mhm.
wherever the case might be. So I think it was but then all of a sudden it became wrong and dangerous and highly dangerous to use a Ouija board.
Yeah.
I got my opinion on the Ouija board.
Well, and I know, and everybody's got an opinion, and
Yeah.
it doesn't bother me one way or the other. Would I use it? Yes. Do I use it? No. And the biggest reason is because I'm lazy.
I got one downstairs.
I don't want to spell.
Don't want to
I
spell
don't
it.
want to spell.
Takes too
I don't want to
long.
take my time to spell. It takes too long.
If I could put the planchette on the board and the planchette would just move, but no, they don't move the planchette. They move you. So basically, if you're playing with the Ouija board, you're like you're a marionette to some unseen entity, and you might think it's a ghost, but you don't know it is.
No.
Well, anything we talk to, we have no idea really what it is.
Yeah.
I've had one spirit really caught me off guard until I caught him. He was pretending. I have had one experience where I was over at Cahokia Mountains. We're wandering around on the pathways, and I'm back in the wooded area. Got my little stool. I'm just sitting there, got my spirit box on. I tapped into some spirit that was out there. This spirit knew all about history, about that area. I'm thinking the guys from like the 1800s, late 1800s, and I'm getting some really good answers from what I knew. I'm like, I said, you know a lot of stuff. Then he made a mistake. And he used, I can't remember what the word was, but he said a particular word. And in my head, I'm going, wait a minute, dude.
Relatively recent word.
I'm like, no, yeah. I'm like, that word didn't even come into existence until about 20 years ago. And I said, you're not from the 1800s, are you? And you hear over the radio, you hear him go,
Yeah.
you can hear him laugh. And I said, you had me going there for a while. And I said, yeah, that was that was really good. But he didn't really
That's
apologize.
But
he
to your point,
acknowledged that I was right.
but to your point, it's I try really hard to phrase my questions using as plain English as I can, without using any kind of slang words or anything like that. So just because I'm trying to be clear, but I will notice that we will get EVPs while we're just talking to investigators, and
Yeah.
so they'll chime in all the time. So
Yep.
we'll try to do that. But yeah, it's pretty wild. I do love what we do. It's good times, but I don't trust a ghost. I never trust a ghost.
Yeah, you never really know. You truly don't.
Yeah, well,
that's a better attitude.
Good point. Yeah, we were investigating this one house, and I said a lot of times we hear people talking in the basement. So we shut everything down, and we were trying to figure out what the heck they were hearing, and we figured out it wasn't this particular. We've had this happen before too, where the gutter system, it was picking up neighbors, 2 blocks away, yelling and screaming. It would come through the gutters, the round gutters, and then come through and echo in the house. Gosh. But no, this wasn't that on this one. So we're like, what the heck? And then all of a sudden, we started hearing it, and we're like, where is that coming from? And what are they even? Because we couldn't tell what they were saying, but we could hear like a whispering, and it sounded like a female voice, higher pitched, or a child maybe. And so we're walking around. It was in the basement. We're walking around the basement and listening, and it wasn't constant. It was just every once in a while. I finally figured out what the heck it was. HVAC pipes. It was water dripping into a little pool of water.
Yeah.
On the bottom part of a heating and cooling duct. and then it dawned on me. It's like, you ever go into a cave that has running water in it, and it sounds like people talking?
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was.
Pareidolia.
Pareidolia.
Yeah. And it happens a lot. Like we'll hear music playing in the house. Like, what is that? It's a fan. So
Your air conditioner unit will.
So we figured that one out. But that was
very cool.
It took us a while to figure out. We're like, where is it coming from?
Oh,
so
yeah. No,
that was kind of interesting.
We've had several conversations like that over the years.
And you go nuts too.
And she's like, "Can you hear that?" And I'm like, "I can't hear that because I got tinnitus." But she's like, "Oh, I do hear that." It sounds like that. She's like, "You didn't hear that." I'm like, "I did." Anyhow, hey,
and Tina, I didn't hear you.
We are about a minute away from just poofing off. So
it's true.
So let me tell you who we got next week. I have Jason Mansfield. He is an ex-investigator. I don't think he's investigating anymore. He had a stroke a few years ago, but he is a content creator, and he does a lot of stuff trying to help people with their movies and stuff like that. So cool. We'll have a chat with him about stuff like that. There Shauna popped on.
Anyhow, so apparently we're still live.
Thought we were just gonna poof off, but anyhow.
No, not poof. Poof.
But anyhow, so we'll talk to him about how we got him into the paranormal and how he transitioned his whole basic life, because sooner or later we're all going to have to do that too. So it'll be kind of interesting to hear his
What he's
stance
done.
on all that,
Very
and
cool.
then see if he's if the brain injury has done anything to his abilities, if he had any.
Good point.
That's
We're
Next week's-
talking about you and your brain injury. Yeah. No, we're talking about my guest next week, Jason Mansfield. So, yeah. Oh, you may be right on. So, wait, you're on now. You're here to say
Well-
bye, folks.
Well, she controls the button.
I will tell you guys this. This has been a lot of fun. We should do this every once in a while. Just get
What,
together
just
and
kick
share our
Shauna out?
stories. No, get together
Just
and
leave
share
it-
our
It's
stories.
been a lot of fun. We had a show without Shauna. We should do that.
No, that is
Wait till
absolutely
she
not what I
hears
meant.
all the stories we told about her.
Well, it would
I'm
be
kidding.
okay.
You heard that.
We'd be better prepared this time because we didn't know wasn't going to have a guest until like right before the show started. So
Yeah.
whoopee, no problem. That's
Yeah.
why. Well, yeah,
But
that's
it
all
worked
right.
out.
But I
it
think
worked out great.
we can yammer just about anything. So that's good.
Nice.
Ah,
That's
Yeah.
exciting.
I
I had his
ar-
coffee.
I already have it figured out. Cool. Mhm. We'll talk about it after. Well, I know who.
Well-
I think I know who it is. Yeah.
I put out a send a message to Santiago trying to get him on here sometime. But he's so here, there, and everywhere. No, bull. It's much more important for him to
That's
be on the
exciting.
show here, but that's all right.
He
So
goes.
he said, yeah,
He goes live
throw me,
about 5
said-
times a day.
yeah, I know it. He said, throw me some dates. I threw him some dates, and he hadn't even looked at it. So, but I definitely want to get him on the show before yeah, that thing.
Oh,
Wait,
Yeah. Who they're going to be. Yeah.
yeah.
Makes sense.
But anyhow, yeah. Wait. No, he hadn't looked at it. That was the 26th. That was on the 26th. So he hates me. That's
He's
fine.
ignoring you.
He hates me. That's okay. Dude. Yeah. All right. Anyhow, everybody, see us next week.
Yes. Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
see you guys. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.